Did either of you watch any of that Pepsi documentary about the jet yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. I won't
watch
spoil it
it,
or
though.
anything. It's real good. Anybody listening? It's on Netflix. It's a documentary, like 3 or 4 episodes about the true story of when Pepsi advertised their points program. You get a jet for this many points, or you get a jacket for this many points, some sunglasses for this many, and at the end of the commercial, Harrier jet, 7 million points, and someone called them on it, came up with 7 million points, and wanted their fucking jet, and they were like, what do you really want? And they were like, we want the fucking jet. And they're like, yeah, but how about like a lot of money? I already told you once, my friend. We're here for the jet. and Pepsi's just like, it doesn't make any sense. He wants a jet, he says. like they don't know how to deal with this guy.
Did they offer him the equivalent in cash?
Oh,
like
no.
$32 million or something?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Because I might have settled for that.
They offered him enough money that as a kid who had just come up with some Pepsi points, probably should have. Most people, I think, would have taken it.
He spent $4.5 million, right, to get the jet.
No, he spent $700,000 from he got an investor to put in $700,000, and the idea would be, because that's all it took. When you bought the points, they had a program where, hey, you need to round up your points a little. You sell points for X amount of points for 10 cents, and he was like, 7 million points is $700,000. So here's your check. They wrote in Harrier jet, and they mail it to Pepsi, and they wait. And Pepsi's like,
did they cash it?
Well, they don't know what to do. They're like, we could just cash this check and send him back a model. And that's what we showed in the commercial was we could send him the thing from the commercial, that model we recorded, and cash his fucking check. And they're like, no.
No, it has to be a functional Harrier.
Yeah.
I watched a different documentary where a guy bought a Harrier jet. And apparently there's a lot of rules around who's allowed to own them and whether you qualify. The FAA weighs in on you, but he was the guy. He was like a what do they call it? A test pilot. So like he was previously a test pilot. Now he's old, he's retired, and he has enough money to buy a Harrier jump jet. Yeah, and he bought one.
He's the guy. Yeah. We're like, sir, you're gonna be able to fly this Harrier jump jet? I've never had a problem flying a Harrier jump jet. I tested that one actually before it was called a Harrier jump jet. It was the XB-74 back then.
It's like, well, I don't know, sir. I was smart enough to trick Pepsi. Like, so I think I can handle this.
And you also get a little background into like how awful Pepsi is as a company. I'll spoil this little bit.
I will not have your Southern Coca-Cola bias weigh into my Pepsi.
Diet Pepsi is better than Diet Coke.
Pepsi put on a contest in this poor country. I can't remember where. Maybe Singapore. Doesn't matter where. But in a poor country, they put on this contest where they were going to give you the equivalent of like 40,000 pesos or $40,000. It was $40,000 in pesos. 1 million pesos then was like $40,000. And basically, you pop the cap on your Pepsi, and there's a number under there. If you get 3 of this, and they're going to read out the number on TV one night. It's like a lottery, basically. So everybody's keeping their caps. People are giving up meals to buy Pepsi. And you're interviewing people. And Manny Pacquiao is from there. Where's Manny from? Because that's where it is. Manila?
Philippines.
Oh,
right.
Okay. So Manny's like, I went to the dumps. Me and my friends, we'd go through the trash looking for caps. Everyone, they give up their meals for caps. Anything they could do. Coca-Cola fell to nothing here. Only Pepsi's like sales just many-fold over and over because everybody's trying to win this money. Finally, they read the number out on the news. 359. Everybody looks at the caps. They've all got one. They've all got 359. Huge. Everybody thinks they've won the lottery. And then they start hearing like, oh, so-and-so says he's got one. He's a fucking liar. I got one. Show us. I'm not bringing that thing out. I'm waiting to get my money from Pepsi. Finally, it comes out. They're like, computer error. Wrong number, boys. We're not paying out. Actually, how about this? Y'all get $20. They rioted, and some Pepsi trucks blow up. And
holy shit!
When the Pepsi trucks blow up and the factory gets attacked and some people die, all of a sudden all the attention sways back Pepsi's way. It's like, oh, these people have gone violent. They're blowing up trucks. Turns out after an investigation later on, it was determined that Pepsi blew their own trucks up. Of course, the people who came up with who discovered that were paid off a generation later, and they say, no. We think the current story there locally, after Pepsi talked to them, is that rival bottlers bombed the trucks.
Moderate rebels.
So basically, Pepsi ripped these people off. There were many deaths because of it, and then they bombed their trucks to sway local opinion away and make themselves look clean.
They false flagged their own beverage trucks.
Yeah. Pepsi's
genius.
Allegedly in Minecraft, according to that documentary that somebody said on Netflix.
Well, I mean, a documentary with an agenda. Show me one.
Fahrenheit 9/11.
Have you ever seen a documentary where a guy's like, "I'm just interested in this, and I'm going in with an open mind"? Like it's always like, today we're going to talk about food and how everything is poison except for what I'm selling. Which
they give a good. I can only come to the conclusion that this doc gives a fair shake because 3 or 4 bigwigs from Pepsi are in it. Like they're there giving their side.
Former bigwigs, like bigwigs at the time.
The people who were doing the stuff that the doc is about, like the people, and not just like, oh yeah, I was working bottling. It's like, yeah, I designed the commercial. It's my commercial. And then they got the other guys like, yeah, I was running Pepsi marketing then. Yeah, I pay the guy who comes up with the commercials, and it's like, yeah, and I'm Pepsi legal, like, and like, yeah, I'm the lawyer who works for Pepsi legal. Like they have all of these people in the doc, and you get all of their like points of view. And it's good when you've got 2 people telling the same story about an event that happened in the 90s, because then they can be like, you remember? Then he came in and said this. And he's like, yeah, he did. And so it's a fun little documentary about a wacky marketing campaign that Pepsi came up with. I liked it a lot.
That stuff's always so fun when like someone works a way around like some big corporation's contest, like the like that. Obviously, this one is way more impressive than like fucking with Mountain Dew name suggestions. But like all of that stuff is great.
Yeah. I believe the movie Punch Drunk Love with Adam Sandler has to have been inspired by this Harrier jet instance. Well, in that one, there's a pudding lid giveaway. You know, under the lid of the peel off pudding snack things, there's points, and he's like, yeah, I came up, I did the math, and you can order them like this, and if you do it like that, and you basically get free airline miles for life. I have as many as I want now. And he's just this very like, he's on the spectrum, and just like he's wearing that blue suit the whole movie inexplicably. Punch Drunk Love is like if one of Adam Sandler's violent, goofy characters lived in our universe, where that is unacceptable, bizarre behavior to beat another man in a Denny's, or to scream out loud in public about nonsense. They take that character and put him in a real world. So he has an outburst at a family event, and everybody's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Like you've ruined dinner.
Yeah,
you've ruined dinner because you can't control yourself." Or like. He gets in a fight in public, and it's like, oh my God, it's not comical really when you beat 3 men with a tire iron. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And so Punch Drunk Love, really good movie too, if you want to see Adam Sandler's best, I think. Although I haven't seen his newest movie where he's running around with the gyms, uncut whatever gyms or whatever, when he's
I did salesman. See Uncut Gems. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody says that's tremendous, and I need to check that out.
I thought it was good. It was like it kept my attention the whole time. Like it was
Sandler,
it was high tempo the entire movie.
I'm pretty sure Adam's a billionaire now, and he every like 5 years he'd be like, just so you know, I'm a really good actor. Watch, and he'll just really do a good job at acting, and then he'll go back to making those goofy comedies with all of his buddies to make sure that they can live life to the fullest too. He's like,
I love that about him. Yeah, is that he's just like,
Kevin James movies aren't hot anymore. They are in Adam Sandlerville. Come on, Kevin.
Kevin James, David Spade, Rob Schneider. Come over here, suckle on the teat. I'm here for my boys. I'm here for my friends. Like,
and Chris Rock shows up every time to support him in those
Chris
shitty
Rock's
movies.
there to help. Chris Rock's obviously not struggling. Everybody loves Chris Rock. See, if I were a famous actor and I had that kind of reach, like what he has with Netflix, I would do the exact same thing. I would be hooking up all my buddies with like high paying Netflix roles. Why wouldn't you? I never understood the evolution of Vice or when he left, or because I remembered back in like the mid 2000s, it was like a cool media source where they would do stuff like, we sent a reporter to live for 20 days in Sentinelese Island. Or
did they do the North Korea undercover thing with
they
Lisa,
did. Yes,
Lisa Ling or something?
I'm now remembering that's the thing I'm thinking of. Yeah.
So we've talked about this before, but it is fascinating if you've never seen it. I think her name is Lisa Ling. She's this very attractive Asian lady who's probably 50 but looks 30. And they went undercover along with an optometrist or an eye surgeon to North Korea to do all these cataract surgeries for these poor North Koreans. And they had like a 4 to 5 day pass, some brief amount of time. And so the doctor is doing dozens of surgeries a day or something. He does like 100 people. He gives them their vision back in at least one and sometimes both eyes in the course of a week. And it's almost they gather in what looks like a church, but I don't know if they're allowed religion there. And and everybody's getting their bandages off at the same time. A whole congregation of people is literally being given their sight back by the man standing in the front, and they bypass him to thank the great leader's portrait. And the old lady exclaims while she cries on her knees, "I will work twice as hard in the salt mines."
And this is
and I appreciate, and I was like, this is a legit view of what's going on. There's no spin. Lisa, they're secretly recording this at risk of, being taken by the North
thrown
Koreans.
in jail. Yeah.
And, like that one American they gave back had been tortured so severely he was brain dead, right? And he died not long after we got him back. I don't know what they do to you over there, but it's not friendly.
They fuck your ass up. Yeah.
They fuck your ass up. So that documentary was fascinating to see like what a normal street looked like. It's also very clean, like their cities, but it reminds me of movies when the person's having a dream and all the people in a city have disappeared. And it's very ominous. It's almost like, where are all of the people? Why are there not commuters of some kind? Or why are there not like, in America and every other city I've ever seen, cities are congested with traffic and everybody's trying to get somewhere.
Did you happen to see that footage of the bicyclist riding in North Korea recently on Reddit?
No.
It backs up your story. Well, story, it sounds like a lie, but it backs up what you're saying.
I did see it.
Oh, yeah. So the guy rides his bike, and man, there are barely any cars in a city with an infrastructure to handle a lot of cars.
Millions. Yeah, a city that looks like a major city of millions. But there's no foot traffic either, seemingly. There's no... It's like, where are the people centers? Where's the hustle and bustle of North Korea?
They did that shit that China does, where they like build an entire city before there's the demand for that city, and then it's just, old West ghost town, nobody there.
Well,
that would explain.
But these undercover videos, though, like I never quite understand it, and sometimes I have this little sci-fi dystopian Black Mirror moment where I'm like, I've never been to North Korea. Do we even know if it's real? Like maybe they just drew it on the map and it doesn't exist. Yeah, like I've never been. Maybe it's all. Of course, I also have that simulation theory that I melt into every now and then, where I wonder if you guys are real.
That's upsetting. You can't be doing that, man. You're gonna lose.
You wouldn't know if you were. I wouldn't know. You could be the real one. I'm fully open to the concept that you're the only real person that there is.
Dom had so much power to watch this thing, of course. It's really fun to watch because every now and then they intersplice an actual Saddam Hussein quote. And one of them is like, the law is anything I write on a piece of paper. Like this is kind of his mindset. He had it tracked back, his lineage, all the way to Muhammad. So now he has it in his head that he is divine in some way. And he starts having a Quran transcribed in his own blood. His early war with Iran, with the Khamenei or whatever the fuck, like that seemed like a justified thing. And then the invasion of Kuwait is painted in a way that I'd never seen it. Apparently, the deal was this: the Kuwaitis are using American slant drilling oil technology to drill into Iraq and get their oil. They're stealing their natural resources, and the Iraqis are like, "Whoa, stop stealing our natural resources and apologize." And the Americans are, of course, giving them this technology to do it. And so Saddam finally has a meeting with the Kuwaitis, and they're like, "We have powerful friends. We don't give a shit. Fuck yourself." Meaning the United States, of course. And Saddam's like, all right, we need to talk to the U.S. ambassador. So he sits down with the U.S. ambassador, and he's like, She says, of course, President Bush wishes for peace in the Middle East, but he has no opinion on Arab affairs. And he was like, oh, the president has no opinion on Arab affairs. No, of course he wants peace, but, you know. And he's like, he walks out of that meeting thinking he's got carte blanche to invade Kuwait.
I've heard many times he asked for permission. Carry on.
Yeah, so they drop special forces in. The family of Kuwait has to flee. They're pillaging Kuwait, taking like things that they claim were bought with these ill-gotten oil money gains. And then George Bush assembles 30 nations, and they start building a force over the course of weeks. And at 6 weeks later, you know, it's game over, because there's this one really cool scene that I wondered, watching this all as a child and then later as a young adult, why no one ever says this to Saddam. One of his son-in-laws is like, Baba, the Americans, they have missiles and smart bombs. We will be destroyed before we even see their faces. And he's like, oh, coward. It's just like they will fight to the last man, you know, like the Americans can't stomach 10,000 casualties. We have more willpower than them. And it's like, how can you ever hope to kill 10 of them, dude? Like, what are you don't get it. You don't get it.
It was, it was a real lopsided affair. I know someone who was
Both
a tank
times.
commander, you're right, and he actually had some guilt afterwards, because their tank battles, they just like beyond visual
That battle
range.
was mentioned. That highway of death, or whatever they call it, with all the burnt out trucks and vehicles with the skeletons in them.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of mentioned. There's a part where Saddam's, I get them mixed up because I just watched this thing, but son-in-law, someone he's got in power, the leader of his military, is on the radio. He's like, no, cowards will be shot. You can't run. Don't run. Cowards will be shot. Do you understand? And Saddam walks in the room. And he's like, what's going on? And the other guy's like, our army has been overrun. There's a highway we are retreating on, and we are all pinned down, taking terrible casualties, and there's nothing we can do. And he's like, why didn't you tell me this? And there's always like this infighting with the people closest to him, playing each other against him. One time Saddam asks his like two most trusted guys for an opinion on something that he's going to do. And the first guy's brother-in-law says, if I were you, I'd do this, 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 and that. Then all this will be smooth, and these people will like you, those people will fear you, and those people will be dead. What about you, Jim? What do you think? Oh, well, I could never presume to put myself in the position of the president. Never. and then Saddam looks over at his brother-in-law like, he did just presume to put himself in the position of the president. He thinks he's got it all worked out. Like 2 weeks later, that guy's blowing up in a helicopter crash. And like Saddam's whole family comes to him, like his wife, her children, her grandchildren. He's like, there he is, children, sitting behind his desk in his uniform. The man who killed my brother, who killed your uncle, who killed your father. And Saddam's just like, He's just such a monster that like you couldn't get on board with Saddam at any point throughout the whole four-part thing. But it was entertaining to watch.
I wonder.
check that out.
Did you feel like it was biased? Did you feel like it was accurate?
I felt like it was accurate, but not because I know any of the things and I can like check up on their facts. Just because they were so fair to everyone involved, except for Saddam, who by all accounts is a monster, and Uday. The oldest son, is painted as an absolute. Saddam has this part where he's slapping Uday around. He's like, violence is a tool, not for fun, not for play. We use violence as a tool because Uday just had. There's a party next door. They're celebrating Saddam marrying his second wife. Uday is from wife number 1. He does not appreciate wife number 2. So he goes over to the party. There's Saddam's best, most trusted friend. He is shit-faced. And Uday's like, this party's over. Everybody get the fuck out of here. And the guy's like, brother, this is my house. And he's not his brother. He's just calling him, this is my house. We're celebrating for your father's great day. He gave us permission to have this party. Forgive me, but you should go. And he's like, how dare you speak to me like that? It's like, I'm so sorry if I spoke out of turn, but I am very drunk. I can barely see you, sir. Uday starts beating him to death with his cane until there are brains on the ground.
This is the guy that was just at the wedding party of his dad?
And that's a true story. It wasn't a wedding party. It was just a party they were having, celebrating Saddam's second marriage. Uday comes over, beats Saddam's best friend to death with his cane. And then, like, his friends are like, what did you do? You beat him to death. And he's like, he's not dead. He's not dead. Like, doing coke. Like, his fucking brains were on the floor. They're on your cane right here. And then all of a sudden the phone rings, and it's Saddam's like scary henchman. He's like, is it true? They're like, yeah, it's true. He killed him. I'll handle this. Click. And like next thing you know, Saddam's having Uday thrown in a cell and having him beaten up and stuff. But still, you know, he lets him out eventually. It's his son. Uday has this moment with one of Saddam's trusted guys because he has a lot of them. He says, Saddam, Papa has had many favorites, but only one firstborn son. And when I heard that, I was like, fucking right, bro. You need to get on this guy's good side.
Yeah.
He's going nowhere.
He's got a golden ticket being the firstborn son.
I like the story you're telling. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just can't get past the notion that to stay in power for 25 years, you have to be more than just an asshole. Like, you have to have some sort of political awareness and vision. And like,
I'll tell you what he did is when he comes in like right away and takes over. This kind of refers to the, what do you call them, the key holders of power. He lines up all the key holders of power. He has people lie under threat of torture against their families and admit to a conspiracy that never existed, and then name co-conspirators who all are like cabinet members and stuff. Then he selects a new cabinet, and he has them stand face to face outside, and he takes his pistol out and hands it to one of his new cabinet members and says, "Fire!" That guy kills his previous counterpart, hands the gun down, and they go down the row. And every one of his new key holders murders the man who used to hold the key.
Which is
that
crazy,
gruesome.
But is there some cleverness? I'm trying to find it here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Clearly, it was. He had power like.
That's the established
what I'm
fear.
saying.
All
That
the
was
key
his
holders know what happens on their way out, so you better continue to support this guy. I guess.
Oh, there's a couple scenes, and you can see it in real life. It's really fun to like find the old real life Saddam speeches where like someone will be like they're sitting at the table, all of his generals. It's kind of a wartime thing, and he's like, "That general's a traitor. Take him away." And the general's like crying, they're taking him away, and the rest of one of the remaining generals at the table, they're all scared, terrified. You can tell these grown men, 50s and 60s. He's like, "I think I speak for everyone here when I say that I love the great leader and I want him to live forever, and I love him." And everybody at the table, like in unison, starts like taking their hands and slamming them on the table in agreement. And they don't stop until he tells them to stop. So he just sits there watching as they pound the table. Same thing would happen.
He demands loyalty.
What a fucking maniac.
Yeah.
Another time, and I've seen the video of this, he's got this huge group of people assembled. It might be Congress or Parliament or whatever they had. And he starts naming fucking conspirators. And they're dragging them out one after as he names them. And the people are so terrified that their name could come up next. They start standing up. Saddam! Yeah, Saddam! Woo! They start cheering. And like, you can't allow like Bob to be the one man who stands and cheers for Saddam. You got to join in, right? So everyone gets in, and it's like a competition to see who can clap harder, who can be more enthusiastic and boisterous and happy to be there, and who could be more part of the team. And so like you see this ocean of politicians just acting their asses off because they know it might be the acid baths if they don't or something.
I've heard that about North Korea too. When I heard it specifically, it was about when Kim Jong-un maybe died, or Kim Jong-il.
Kim Jong-il. Yeah, and when Kim Il-sung, when both of them died.
And like they were competing in a similar way to grieve more, to be more upset, to wail louder, to whatever, to prove their loyalty.
If you watch those clips of like the competitive grieving, like you can see like as they're panning across crowds, like you can see like people like dabbing eyes and then like looking to the right or something and seeing somebody else like, ah! And then that person's like, oh fuck, ah! and everybody just escalates. It's like if a kid on a playground trips and they all start freaking out, because they see a bone or something. Like it's so creepy. You have to wonder what you do in that situation. And I know 1000% what I would do is be banging my hands on that table like, you are the fucking man. Frankly, Ted isn't banging his hands hard enough. Ted, do your hands hurt? Are your hands a little tender, Ted? Because I could do this all night. Got it, Mr. Saddam. Like that's exactly what I would do. I would pander so hard.
Did you happen to see did you ever see the Joe Rogan that had the Brian Fogel guy on there who did the Icarus documentary for Netflix? Essentially, he breaks down and exposes the Russian doping program. Okay, so the Russians, when they had the Olympics in Sochi, I think, whenever they had their Olympics, the Winter Olympics, like 2 or 4 years ago, whatever the fuck it was. I don't watch the Winter Olympics.
14, I think. Yeah.
It was a state-sponsored, organized doping thing. First of all, the Russians swept those games, right? They got more golds than anybody. They got more medals than anybody, I think. And the way they did it was diabolical. All right? They stopped even fucking trying to go like high science with this shit. They were just like, let's put a hole in the wall of the laboratory and we'll just pass the clean urine in and take the dirty urine out and just swap them out when nobody's looking. Yeah, just come in at 2 a.m. Nobody's in there. It's our lab. Dimitri's got the fucking keys.
Hey, it almost worked.
We don't need the keys. Sergey's the one doing the test. Cool. They just swapped all of their they ran every single athlete hot as fuck. They juiced them to the gills all the way through. They're juicing at the games probably. They're in their fucking like room putting fucking Diana ball up their ass or something. But they're passing he went through the whole program. At first, the guy who like invented the test that was able to recognize like the metabolites created when someone had been on steroids, it allowed them to test people who had been off steroids for 6 months, which was a big step up instead of like weeks. It went from 4 to 6 weeks to like 6 months that you could catch them pissing hot. And it sort of takes a lot of the pep and the advantage out of roids. He invents this test. Well, he goes ahead and makes an antidote for it at the same time. So the Russians all passed the test, and now they're like cracking open this old urine and they're finding that it all has like a higher weight. What is gravity is how they refer to it, because they've added salt to it. They've added salt to it to make it like right or something like that, to make it the right weight, because it's absurd.
Similar thing the Russians would do is like, I don't know my performance enhancing drugs that well, but let's call it, Diana 2. They would use Diana 2 for years, and then they would invent the test to detect Diana 2 and move on to Diana 3, right? Invented drug, I know. Mm-hmm. Well, then they would tell the doping agencies how to detect Diana 2. So all the other countries that are a step behind are now guilty, but we're on 3, so we're fine.
Very smart and devious.
The urine that they use is they only use the urine containers. I believe the containers are made in like Switzerland or something like that. Okay. And they're very special. Like you're probably thinking like it's a little plastic cup. What's the big deal?
Yes.
Well, it's got a little locking lid. Ooh.
Is it childproof?
It's human proof. It looks absurd on the top, like the part that screws down, has like a whole mechanism built in it. It's all clear, so you can see like the inner workings of it. It takes a special device to open the bottle once the bottle has been closed. And only the Swiss have the device or whatever, like the people who are going to test it. The Russians,
safe because they never do that great in the Olympics. Like there's no incentive for the Swiss to cheat a lot.
Exactly.
How many people live in Switzerland?
8.
Dozens.
It's Gunnar and his family. And
Gunnar and his gang.
They invented the bottle, so you don't have to worry about it. The Russians invent a machine to crack the bottles. They're like, oh yeah, we make a new machine, the crack bottle. No one know. So like they're going to all these bee samples that are like years old, and they're all like, holy shit, they all have the same scratch right here, where the Russians applied their fucking invented machine to crack them open and like replace the fucking piss. It's absurd. I think it's
hilarious.
called Icarus. And it's on Netflix, this whole documentary. But I watched the Rogan Experience, where this Brian Fogel guy, I think his name is, was the guest. And he explained that like the guy in charge of the Russian doping program ended up getting exposed, not really exposed, but he came forward and like admitted it all. And he's got like death threats against him, and now he's in hiding. He had to escape the fucking country. It's a whole ridiculous thing.
I don't like the Russians and their poison. It's such an effective assassination technique. And people who don't die still get messed up. Like there's one guy, I can't even describe his skin, but like imagine someone who had like the worst acne pockmarks you've ever seen, that times 5, and now that's what he has to deal with. What did you say?
Yeah, in the Marvel universe, some powers would have come along with what they did to him.
Yeah,
it's absurd.
He's Deadpool looking at this point.
They did this thing to this guy. Yeah. They did this thing to this guy one time.
Like show a picture.
They had like a KGB agent go up to this guy one time they were going to get rid of, and he had this special umbrella, and he poked the guy in the leg with the umbrella, and what happened was it injected a tiny ball that was hollowed out that was full of polonium, I think, which is radioactive element. And the guy died like within a week or something from horrific radiation poisoning. Because the guy he was just like, ow, you hit me with your umbrella. And he's like, sorry, comrade. And they just like went their own fucking separate ways. And a week later, he's dead.
Dude, there is a little piece of me that lies to himself thinking that maybe, just maybe, I'm so badass that I could take on an armed assassin, right? I've got my little observatory on the top of the house and wide open grass from every direction. I will sit there and minigun them like it's the last scene in Left 4 Dead. That's my plan. But, like, you can't, like, not bump into somebody in public ever. You can't have your food tested at every restaurant. Like, you can't even really check your food supply. Like, I don't know.
If they want to get you, they'll get you.
Yes. If they want to get you, they'll get you. And that's true of just about anybody, except for, like, the president, right? With the system around him to protect his food and all that fun stuff. But any regular person can't avoid this.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like the Kim Jong-un's brother-in-law that they got with the VX in that airport. He's fucking walking through an international airport and some bitch comes up behind him and puts like a fucking wet wipe on his face and he's dead like an hour later.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. I didn't know poisons were... All the poisons in my world are not that poisonous. Like we have...
They're all from movies.
Well, like, no, like laundry detergent, right? Like, yeah, if you eat that, you'll die. But... You can rub it on your hands and you're okay.
Yeah, but the
I want you to accost him in international airport and then force him to drink whole thing of Clorox.
Yeah.
My whole family in Gulag. You must finish Clorox. They're watching now.
In my head, because I have no experience with poison, like I think that like bleach is poison, right?
That's the worst poison there is.
Yeah, like I'm gonna put
Not only
bleach
does
on.
it get stains out, but it's the most lethal thing known to man.
Intellectually, I know that's not the case, but
yeah, the first time I saw like the bleach thing, like I thought the same thing, Woody. But when I saw like, you know, some story of like teen girl bully drinks bleach to kill herself but survives, I was like, really? I didn't know that was an option with bleach. I didn't know that you could be like halfway through like a glass of it and be like, I'm not so sold on this anymore, and then just let nature take its course.
It's been too long for me to remember the details, but we covered this in health class. They're like, if you take this kind of poison, you need to throw up. If you take this kind of poison, do not throw up. No. It will do more damage on the way back. You need to drink milk and dilute it. And that would be handy to know, maybe, but I've forgotten the details. But they gave us...
The trick is not to drink poison.
There's nothing worse than getting poisoned and immediately having to, like, go Google search and be like, oh, what do I do? I don't trust this answer. He's not very liked on Yahoo Answers. Okay, let me go
I wish I hadn't gotten it in my eyes.
What do you think the response time is on one of those poison control hotlines? Like, do you think you're like, do? Your call is very important to us. Please stay on the line.
Many of your fellow Americans have been poisoned, and we're teaching them. Yeah. If you drank bleach, just muscle it down, pussy. You know, we're here for real poisons.
Yeah, there's some legitimate poisons. What's the one that they make from? I was about to say how you make the fucking deadly poison. Ricin.
Yeah, the Breaking Bad one.
You know, you do a little Googling, you'll know exactly how to make ricin, but don't do it.
Are the ingredients really hard to find? It made it seem like
one ingredient, and you get it at the grocery store.
Jesus, really?
Yeah.
Wait. Kyle, you wouldn't even be giving anything away. Remember in Breaking Bad when he goes and gets beans and like explains how to do it?
Oh, there we go. That's how you make it.
Is that true?
In Breaking Bad, he's like doing the explanation to Jesse, and Jesse's like, "Bitch, you're telling me beans can kill people?" And he's like, "Yes, Jesse, this is exhausting and are only 9 episodes."
Yeah, I saw where I want to say he was a white supremacist because I have this idea in my head that he was an evil guy, but like this white supremacist was up on like a ton of charges. It was a bunch of shit. But I want to say that maybe he even had a plot to use ricin against like some government employees. Well, they get to court and his lawyer's like, Your Honor, my client did indeed have a large quantity of ricin in his trailer. I guarantee it was a trailer. But the problem is not listed on the unlawful substances. There's no law against having ricin. And they're like, wait a What? Like shuffling some
Airbud
paperwork.
rules. Perfect. I love it.
He just airbutted us. Oh no!
That's what it should be called, the Airbud defense.
And the guy's like,
It should be
"Oh."
the Airbud defense.
He's like, well, you're free to go, sir. And he's like, I'll be taking my ricin with me. He didn't do that, but I just imagine like that happening, and like they couldn't stop him.
Yeah, I
How
have my
could they stop him from taking his ricin back? Your Honor, I would like that ricin back. I have some stuff to do this afternoon, and I'm gonna be needing it. I can't not give you your ricin, so would you carefully hand the defendant his ricin?
Wait, what's like the plausible deniability for ricin? Is it
There
like,
is none.
oh, it's also used for pesticides, or it kills rats?
How does
No.
ricin kill you? Do you need to eat it?
You can inhale it, eat
Yeah,
it.
it was in a cigarette in Breaking Bad. I'm basing all of this on Breaking
It was hidden in a cigarette, though. Like I thought that
Yeah,
was just a storage spot.
I believe that is the case, Woody. Yeah, I think that ingesting it would be like the way
But
to
then
go.
someone smoked a cigarette and that killed them, right?
That would kill him if you smoked it too.
I would
It's
guess,
an
yeah.
What could you
extreme
do if
toxic.
this one wouldn't kill you? Like if you put a little on your skin, would it like absorb in and kill you?
I think so, honestly. And I'm no ricin expert, but I've seen them do this comparison.
You are right now on this podcast.
They
Yeah.
no, but I've seen where they show cyanide. They're like, this much cyanide is deadly, and this much ricin is deadly, and it's like, oh shit, that's like 1,000. That's not even that's like 100,000 times stronger than cyanide or something. Let me
So like those
Google that.
fentanyl pictures they'll show where it's like
Yes.
this is how much of an opiate or how many of these pills, these XYZ pills you need to take to die versus the amount of fentanyl, and it's like such a small picture, like you can see grains like lying on top of each other.
Ricin is deadly if you inhale 3 milligrams of it. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how much a milligram of gas is. Like,
You just have to.
Well, it'd be dust,
You just put it
it's
on the scale and you weigh it.
like a fine powder.
I don't
You
even know
do
how much
not-
3 milligrams of a fine powder is. That could be a mound, the size of my thumb, or
Here's 5 things to know about ricin from thedailybeast.com. There's no antidote. The symptoms
Uh-oh.
are slow to appear. It can be quite deadly. It says an adult would have to eat about 8 castor beans after first removing the indigestible skin to die. Holy shit! You could just cook up 8 castor beans and throw them in a pot of pintos or in a burrito, and that would do
I
the
can't
trick.
buy that.
Wait, 8 beans kill. Well,
8
what are these
beans.
goddamn beans for?
What website is this? How reputable is this?
It's the Daily Beast, but only 2
The Daily
million.
Beast?
Yeah, but 2
I
million.
don't trust them on their castor bean knowledge.
Let me
Don't know
get
much
this out.
about them.
2 millionths of an ounce of pure ricin, or about the same size as 1 grain of salt, can be fatal. In fact, ricin is 6,000 times more poisonous than cyanide. Jesus. I bet castor beans are hard to get.
Why are we? You know how people are always like, we need to save this like poison dart frog. We need to save these whales. We need equally and as steadfast environmentalists going out there and saying we don't need castor beans, my friend.
Oh, no.
And they just cut out all the bad plants. Makes
I
it worse
watched
better.
I was gonna say I watched a really good mini series on Netflix. It's called The Jinx, and it's about this guy named Robert Hearst. You ever heard of Robert Hearst?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So the Hearst family.
Oh, I've
is
seen this. Yeah, it's good.
the Hearst family, which is this guy's family. He's not like some distant relative. He's like the brother of the guy that owns the Hearst Empire in Manhattan. They're like the 5th largest property holder in New York. They own the World Trade Center. That's one of their properties. This Robert Hearst guy, who's been kind of alienated from the family for a number of years, has been involved in not 1, not 2, but 3 murders. Okay? Very closely. One of them he went to trial on, and he got away with it on self-defense. But also his wife had gone missing, never been found. The guy he got the self-defense acquittal on, he dismembered that man, put him in garbage bags, and threw him in the ocean. He was found not guilty of that. And then there was a third murder. There's a third murder.
And the wife not being found, there's no charges there, right? Like, she could be vacationing.
Never were any charges. And then one of the ways that he got this alibi for his wife is a female called her work and basically called in sick for her the next day, which puts them in completely different areas. But it was long believed that he'd had this other female he knew fake her voice and that she was in on the whole thing. Well, lo and behold, then she's dead. Like then the lady that they believe that he was using to do the voice, she's dead. So these people make a documentary about this guy on Netflix, and around episode 5, spoiler, they solve the fucking mystery. They had a letter from the killer where he misspells Beverly Hills in this block writing, and then they had an envelope from Robert Hurst, same block lettering, also misspells Beverly. So they get him in the interview room. They get him in the hot box, and they're like, look at this and look at this. What do you think about that? And he starts burping uncontrollably. He starts freaking out a little. He's like, that's odd. That is odd. Could I go to the bathroom? He leaves his microphone on. He's in the bathroom, and he goes, they've got you now. You fucked up. They've got you now. And of course you did it. You killed them all.
Wait, he said that?
Yeah, as he's pissing. Yeah.
You can hear him in there. He's like holding himself back from vomiting and pissing and realizing that he's just basically given himself up. And then he literally says it on a hot mic to them out there, like recording it. He's just like, of course you did it. You killed them all. And it's just like, oh shit. Did they just get him? Yeah, they got him. That was it. He goes to court on a lot of that evidence that the documentary people that you've been watching the whole time found, and they put him in prison. It's incredible.
Oh, so they catch him in real life.
It was real. The whole thing's real. The whole thing's a documentary. They've got the murderer working on. They're doing a documentary on this supposed murderer, and he's a big part of it. He's traveling around the city with them. He's constantly with them doing interviews.
Right.
And then at the very end, on like the third interview, when they bust him with this information like right in his face, and that's it. They solve the whole case at the end. It's perfect.
It's really good. Yeah, I would recommend that to anyone. You can go to Robert Durst's wiki and read all about it as well.
It was fascinating. I couldn't believe what was happening. It was like fiction. They were like, we just caught him. We got him. All we got to do is get him in here and make him read this, and then make him read that, and then he's done. And then it got even better, of course, because he goes in the bathroom like Danny DeVito, and It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, they did that perfectly in Sunny, where he just starts going, excuse me. Yeah.
He's nervous. You can imagine, like, he's just been nailed to the wall on camera by the documentary film crew, and he starts, like, burping.
They caught me doing a lot of things that I definitely did.
So that happened in Always Sunny? They mocked it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Because Frank had owned a sweatshop in Vietnam where they would throw, like, animals into the soup. And sometimes a hand or a foot, throw that in the soup too. And he realizes he's on a hot mic. He's like, there was no soup. There was no soup. I made that up.
Man, do you remember when, I think it was called To Make a Murderer, or The Making of a Murderer, or something? That was all the rage?
Yeah.
I mean, they presented a really good case for, if not the main guy being innocent, the, like...
retarded cousin.
The functionally retarded cousin type dude, or nephew it might have been.
He's out.
He's back in, I think. Oh, now it's just a matter of whose stuff is more current. Do you remember?
Most up to date. I remember him getting released like Brendan, I believe is his name. I believe it's Brendan. And around the time I watched the It's Always Sunny episode where they mock To Make a Murderer, or The Making of a Murderer, or whatever, I thought that Brandon was getting out, or Brendan.
Okay, I'm on his Wikipedia
Is he out
page.
yet or no?
What Taylor?
Is Brandon Darby, I guess? Is he out yet or no?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to determine. I heard he was released about a year ago, but we're trying to. Woody thinks maybe he got sent back in.
That would. I wonder how. God, I was so convinced while watching that documentary, like the rube that I am. I was like, he's totally innocent for sure. And then I watched like one YouTube series, like quote unquote debunking it, and then I'm like, oh, how could I have been so blind to all the evidence presented?
So it turns out on this one, I'm right. In June 2017, I had read this too. They overturned his conviction. In December 2017, 6 months later, they upheld his conviction 4-3. So now he's back in, and it appears that it's still going. You know, in let me see.
Poor guy. Like for anyone who hasn't seen it, the guy is very slow, and he's just it's I don't know. I haven't seen the documentaries that debunk the show, but it seemed like even if he did do it, he just didn't seem like he should be held responsible, at least not as a criminal adult. You know, he was just not all there at all.
It appears that it's over. He's going to do his term. He's
Oh,
fucked. Yeah.
well,
How long is his term?
Hang in there.
I'm going to guess 15 to 20 years.
Probably a long time. He's just going to be dull and dangerous when he gets out. He's going to be mad.
Life in prison, eligible for parole in 2048. So
Damn!
30 years from now, he's eligible.
48.
Yeah.
Damn, they'll have
A
cured
whole
that by then.
life gone.
30 years. Yeah. I mean, he'll be 47. So that's just the good part of life. Go on.
Oh, no, he'll be older than that, won't he?
He was
Maybe,
17.
maybe start some kind of an online cooking show when he gets out. I'd watch the hell out of that. What if
Because of the
had one
retard.
about? What if you had one about like how to clean up messes around the house? You want to get deep in the quacks. That's how they catch you.
Yeah.
What did he say?
Yeah.
Deep.
He was convicted of first-degree murder, second-degree sexual assault, and mutilation of a corpse. That's some
God
good
damn.
stuff.
They didn't even
Throw
have a
away
bond.
this toothbrush after you clean with it. Don't use it again. Yeah.
But to
That's
making
how
a
I got
murderer,
Hep C.
it seemed really biased, right? Now, I don't know. I'm just like looking and
was.
assuming some bias. But they're like, hey, the cops looked here, didn't find anything. Looked a second time. Third time they looked, they found these things. Don't you think they would have found it on the first two? Like, I don't know. When I can't find my fucking keys, that's how it goes for me too. Like.
But they're investigators.
Fair enough, and I'm particularly bad at this. I would make a lousy one. But yeah, and it just makes me wonder, like, and they would say that like the fact that they had to search more than once was evidence that they planted things there.
Yes.
But for me, I'm like, I don't know. They did seem kind of crooked and had a motive, but the worst of it, the worst of it, was they had video of them interrogating this functionally retarded kid. And he did not know what he was saying. He didn't know what he was doing. The cops were doing cop things, like counseling him, like, hey, man, like, look.
I'm just trying to help you out.
I'm trying to help you. I can imagine how stressful this whole situation was. If you could just write a thing for me on how you murdered her and burned the body and mutilated the corpse and raped her a little bit, so there were like 2 chains on her arms, right? 2 chains, right? Okay, yes, all right. So you've admitted to that. And they would just go through,
Yeah.
convince this kid at the end of what is the word when you admit that you're guilty? And
Confession.
Confession, that's what I'm going for. At the end of the confession of first-degree murder, sexual assault, and mutilation of a corpse, he asked them if he could go because he had homework to do that night.
Yeah.
He has to finish it before wrestling. Yeah, he doesn't want to miss wrestling.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this kid has no grip on what's happening here to him.
No. Yeah, it's completely fucked up. It's really fucked up. I didn't like that part at all. I felt at the very least that he hadn't been given due process, that he hadn't been treated fairly, and on that alone he should be released. Like, forget his innocence or guilt. But then, like, it also seemed that like he wasn't guilty, and if he were guilty of something, then he probably isn't functional enough mentally to be considered a bad guy. You know what I mean?
His attorney seemed to be on the team of the prosecution. Like, his own attorney wasn't on his side. Like, they were just like, all right, how can we get this guy locked up? We don't want him on the streets anymore. Your attorney's supposed to be on your team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
He did
Especially
not
if
have
you're
that.
defending a handicapped person. Like, how's he supposed to?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the one part of that documentary that disturbed / upset me more, because it was literally what you said. They're like, and then this happened, right? He's like, what? This, and this. Oh, yeah. That, whatever you just said, sure.
Yeah, he was trying
Like,
to get
as long
them
as
to
I can
like
get
him.
home to watch Triple H, or whatever the hell he was waiting to do. Yeah, that's fucked. I always wonder how many people are falsely imprisoned. Probably not as high a number as you would believe, but there's still got to be some. Like, quite a few, at least.
I've been watching. I told you guys about it. 23 and 1, I think his channel is. He went to prison for a while, and it was. They almost got him on something he didn't do. Like they tried to get him on kidnapping, but in reality, he just stabbed a guy. Apparently, 3 people were coming over to jump him. He got it was in his own house in his own yard. He got a knife, and he went to kind of like pick the guy up and dump him. I guess that's a super effective move on the streets and prison fights. He talked about that. But in reality, he didn't really lift him, but he had a knife in his hand, and he stabbed him twice in the back. And one of the times it made like a suction sound, and I think he killed that guy. I'm not positive about that. I don't want to go ruin his good name. But the other 2, I think after he killed the first guy, like we're not interested in fighting. But there was a girl involved. He doesn't know why she was upset. And bottom line, the girl told some lies and said he was also guilty for kidnapping, but he beat that charge and just went in on what I guess was murder or something like that.
Yeah.
And
good news is you didn't kidnap her.
Yeah, well, he was he was like, if they got me on that charge too, one I was innocent of, I'd still be in there right now. And it's like, yeah, I guess so. You know, like that's why this poor Dennessy guy's in there forever.